Hey y'all, it's Crazy Crafty Mommy, and I want to show you guys how I turned Dollar Tree items into the centerpieces that I used for my Halloween themed wedding. I noticed that while researching what I wanted to do for my centerpieces, I had a hard time finding an idea that I actually liked. So I kind of came up with this, and this is how it's made. We start with, I use 12 obviously, but we start with our Dollar Tree skulls. I also used the floral foam that was actually already cut into 4 parts. I found it easier to use the smaller instead of trying to cut it myself because you are going to need the small little square pieces for the centerpiece. I also used several bunches of red roses, also bought from the Dollar Tree. I then marked where I wanted to cut the skull in order for the floral foam to fit nice and snugly into the skull. So as you see here, I have my lines drawn and I just trace over that with, you can use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. Once you have your skull piece cut out, you then just make sure that your floral foam will fit in there, and see, nice and snug, it fits perfectly. So then we remove those and start our next process. Now it's time to paint the skulls because they're not too pretty this color. And I was kind of going for elegant, so I used the semi-gloss white to spray paint, and I did have to spray about 2 or 3 coats. Next, we're going to give the roses a darker feel by applying just a little bit of black spray paint to those, and I did that to the entire bundle. So now all of the skulls are painted, and they actually, I think they turned out great, but I did end up having to do about 3 coats on each, and now it's time to insert all of the floral foam. In order to make sure that the floral foam sticks, I hot glued the bottom of the floral foam. However, it did not hold for long, so my suggestion is if you're trying to make this like a long-term centerpiece, I would suggest using a stronger glue like E6000 and not hot glue, because a hot glue doesn't stick to the material well. So now that all of the floral foam has been inserted into the skulls, I'm going to decorate those harsh cutting lines so that it's going to be easier to conceal the foam. And I'm doing that with Dollar Tree moss. For this project, I only used about 1.5 bags of moss. Now that all the moss is separated, I'm going to start applying the moss with hot glue. The way I've done that was take my hot glue gun and just put it along the bottom edge of the skull and begin applying the moss to where I applied my hot glue. We're going to repeat this along the entire outer perimeter of the hole that we cut. Just laying moss, applying glue, and laying moss. And of course I did this not only for this one, but for all of my centerpieces. So it doesn't look great at this point, but it is a work in progress. So I applied this method to all of my centerpieces and moved on to the next step. Now it's time to cut our flowers. Again, I got these flowers from Dollar Tree. I just bought like every red flower bundle they had. And I cut them to, instead of making a bunch, for them to be single roses. And I did this to each flower bundle. Now that the roses are cut, we're ready to begin inserting the flower into the floral foam. And to be 100% honest, I had no method for this. I just wanted to make it look full. So I started by putting in flowers where I thought they would need to be. And then once it was done, I kind of adjusted from there. I also had to cut a few of the stems and put some in kind of diagonally so that it would look nice and full and you didn't see a bunch of stems. So this is just a Dollar Tree candlestick that was painted black, and I actually used it for a different event, so I didn't have to paint that for this particular event. So I make sure that it's going to fit snugly on our centerpiece, and it does. So we start by putting the hot glue around the outside of the smallest portion of the candlestick, and then applying that to the bottom of your centerpiece. I do suggest turning the centerpiece right side up to make sure that the candlestick is going to be level and your centerpiece isn't going to be lopsided. So if you want to end here and make it a strictly Dollar Tree item, this is a good stopping point. But I wanted to try something else, and that was to add this baby's breath that I got online from Amazon. It's black baby's breath, and I just wanted to see if it added anything. And to be honest, I loved it. It gave it like this really pretty dimension, and I felt like it made it look more full. However, I didn't go with this option because I didn't have enough baby's breath left over. And this is the end result. Personally, I freaking love them. Aren't they adorbs? I did end up blackening the eyes because I felt like it did need more color on the skull, and I do not regret that decision. Ultimately, my guests were happy. I was happy. I think it turned out great, and it was a nice addition to my Halloween-themed wedding. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and you can catch me next time on Crazy Crafty Mommy.